Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Kevin Cage back with another daily cryptocurrency video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get right into the information. And guys, this is definitely a video to see, so please watch to the end, if not at least to the middle of the video where I'm covering some very crucial information, and I feel like a lot of newcomers need to better understand the XRP ecosystem and what this potentially entails. So, to kick things off really quick with some typical news, we have Michael sharing this, Val 5 links, what Ripple is executing every day, and this is a quote from Brad Garlinghouse. What Ripple is executing every day is to take over Swift. Currently, we've signed over 100 Swift-enabled banks that are now using the Ripple technology, meaning most likely Xcurrent and XVIA. XRapid would be the third software product, and that does use XRP. But again, they already explained their strategic plan and their onboarding process. Currently, Xcurrent is probably a lot cheaper, saving 30 to 40%. Once the liquidity in the certain corridors are lit and correspondent banking systems can work a little better together, and we can actually get rid of the pre-funded accounts, then XRapid in due time will become a lot more profitable and offer more cost savings, saving anywhere from 40 to 70%, provided there's enough liquidity to basically de-risk and get rid of any slippage. Now we're talking consumption slippage on the order books. We need enough liquidity to ensure that XRapid is scalable and offers enough cost savings, if that makes sense. So really quick, just this quick article, a few quotes. The financial industry is undergoing an extraordinary change because of the new entrants like Facebook's Libra and the emergence of technologies like crypto assets. As we know, Swift, 7.8 billion messages and more than 11,000, and sometimes I see this number as low as 10,000 institutions are connected to Swift. It operates in hundreds of different countries and is just an overall beast for payments. It is truly the one king of market share today. All right, so even if Ripple not necessarily takes over Swift, which is not what I believe, but I believe Swift will be using and incorporating XRP in some manner for capital costs and to level the playing field for the tier 3 banks in the not too distant future. If I don't see any, true developments in the next 5 years, then I'll get nervous. But to be honest, everything is on track from what I've seen. All right, now this is a quick post, a little speculation, but I just want to connect the dots. So I Am Legion, are we paying close attention? As we can see here, we see Broadridge's asset servicing solution goes live on AWS, Amazon's web server, or service, excuse me. And so Amazon Web Services, and what we're doing is right there, they're connected to the cloud. Now as we go down, let me see, go back to I Am Legion's tweet. So of course we already knew about Earth Network, we knew that, or Earthport, excuse me, and Ripple basically consolidated and became partners. As you can see Ripple right here. And this is a few years back. Then Visa did purchase Earthport. And we already know about all the corridors there. But basically, to bring back Broadridge, Earthport PLC chooses Broadridge Financial Solutions to host foreign exchange and cash management processing. So we're just connecting the dots here. And let me see if I can click this thread. We've already connected it regarding Earthport. We know, what this encompasses. As we can see here, Ripple Labs and Earthport announced the global partnership. This was back all the way in 2014. And as we can see, Earthport right here, the largest open network for global banks. And I believe this is based in the UK. Yep, London-based firm, which has offices in New York and Dubai, will integrate the Ripple protocol alongside its existing payments network. Now, similar to MoneyGram, these guys have so many corridors available. So I'm just showing you that everything is connected. And I know this can seem like a stretch, but just stick with me and I'll show you why. So now, this is a tweet by I Am Legion. This is a really good string. Basically, now do you still think it's theoretical? And this is really, really good. It starts off with talking about the proof of concept, the Bank of England and the Interledger Protocol. We talk about the Bank of Japan, the European Central Bank, along with Interledger Protocol. We talk a little bit about, the Interledger project with the community group W3C, along with the contributors, which include central banks and various tech giants. We're talking tech giants. This is not an understatement. And then as we go down here, just to, show you that, we got NTT Data, or Everest, and they confirmed their adoption of ILP as the Hyperledger Quilt project. And now you're saying, okay, well, what does this have to do with Ripple the company or XRP? This just looks like typical blockchain adoption. As we can see here, as part of the 5th largest IT service group and having a global coverage with over 150,000 consultants means we are well positioned to support Ripple in their journey of global dominance. It's all or nothing with Ripple XRP, with Ripple's XRP. Okay? And I know Ripple does not own XRP per se, but right now they are one of the original distributors because the creators of XRP gifted a huge amount to Ripple initially. So this is what Ripple believes. They either are going to succeed or not succeed. And now, what I want to show you, and I'm actually going to pull a picture up. So it's going to start off at the top, and we'll work our way down. So pay attention. So 1980 to 2017, this is about 37 years, okay, of what we've been working on in terms of current networks. So as we can see here, we have the local payment networks, okay? We have SEPA, ACH, Zenjin, or however you say this, with various countries, Japan, European Union, United States. And then we have the actual real-time gross settlement systems. So, of course, in the US, we have Fedwire. Otherwise, in the European Union, we have Target 2. You may recognize these and may have heard me talk about these a few times. Now we have CLS, this abbreviation, and this is Continuous Link Settlement. This is old, slow, expensive infrastructure used by the correspondent banks. And CB is the abbreviation for correspondent banks. Now this basically, the RTGS system, it's a good upgrade, but again, this was built pre-internet era, pre-digital era. Reduces systemic risk by removing the settlement risk from interbank payment flows. Today's operates in daily batch process cycles, which is very inefficient. Doesn't provide real-time settlement capability, of course, so does not, and is restricted to local banks in each country. Correspondent banks are needed to access foreign currency corridors and liquidity pools. There's no open access, there's not a lot of trust, there's not a lot of transparency or reliability. Correspondent banks work in oligopolistic, that's a tongue twister, markets and use antiquated technology to settle transactions across various countries. For these reasons, international transactions are expensive, slow, and error-prone. And again, as I always say, when there are actual errors and mistakes and the money can be potentially lost, banks actually have to manually intervene, and that takes time, it takes money, and sometimes the funds are never found at all. That is crazy. Imagine if you're sending a large batched payment and it is lost entirely. Now to fast forward, banks' adoption of real-time settlement with distributed ledger technology in 2017. And so keep in mind, this whole thing is made by Everest, NTT Data Company. They're helping Ripple attain global domination in terms of the back-end settlement layer. It's my belief, based off of all the fundamentals that I've been seeing the past few years, is that we are well positioned and a lot further ahead than most people realize. Now the price does not reflect that because the volume is not running through XRP yet. It's my belief that, either very soon or within the next few years, we will see that adjustment, or that so-called flip the switch, and I believe there will be a gradual increase in stages. So right here, local payments. Again, we see the networks, we see the real-time gross settlement systems, RTGS, and now it's connected by ILP, the Interledger Protocol. Now this is unique because it can allow any value to move, but typically they want XRP to position and be the bridge asset because it is the fastest, most scalable, most secure asset to transfer value, especially fiat to fiat. Now, the ILP, what's unique about it is it's called Interledger Protocol. It can go between ledgers. So essentially, it can bridge all ledgers of each separate banks onto a single immutable ledger. There's no centralized point of failure, and it's completely trusted. So it exists everywhere in a distributed system. This is why DLT is so revolutionary. Now, ILP will connect, and as we can see, CB is correspondent bank, and LP is liquidity provider. So ILP connects these systems. The local payment networks go to this RTGS systems. ILP bridges this right to the correspondent banking partners and liquidity providers. Right now, as of 2017, a couple years ago, 50 Japanese banks were currently integrating with RippleNet through Xcurrent to make real-time payments. Now remember, this is not settlement yet. Xcurrent uses ILP for making transactions across banks' ledgers, as I've already said. All over the world, many other FIs are also joining RippleNet. We already know 200 plus customers. Again, maybe even more if you're counting partners rather than just mere customers. And just think of MoneyGram, for example. That single partnership, so to say, or per se, has 22,000 corridors alone, with over about 120 fiat currencies, or pairs. Right here, as banks accelerate the RippleNet adoption worldwide, FIs will start using the XRP ledger for liquidity, provisioning, and cross-currency global real-time gross settlement. Now remember, 2008, the number one reason for the crash, if you look at every single document and highlight it, or even just Control F, liquidity, 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 on-demand liquidity, lack of liquidity, we need immediate liquidity. This is what XRP is solving. This is arguably the biggest solution right now that cryptocurrency can solve today: cross-border payments. Now right here, aware of the fast data changing financial landscape, Everest and NTT Data are developing Interledger Java and implementation of the ILP to facilitate real-time settlement, RTS, of transactions across banks, across their ledgers, across payment systems, and capital market platforms. Now let's scroll down, and this is the last one I want you guys to see. This is cross-border real-time gross settlement. Now this is 2020 to 2025. Keep in mind this does not even consider the ISO 222, that standard messaging language that will be across, so that there's true interoperability across these platforms. So again, local payments, RTGS, IOP still bridges, but in the center of all of this, where all of the value goes across, is the XRP ledger. So it is widely believed that XRP will be used, of course, as the native digital asset on the XRP ledger and transfer to bridge with interledger protocol back to the correspondent banks and liquidity providers. With large amounts of money, there's going to be so much liquidity, and they need a high value per XRP. With this, there will be less volatility, there will be virtually very to little no slippage, and the price will remain the same at a high price point. When XRP is $1, when it's 20 cents, they're not able to send the large values. 100 billion XRP is not enough. That's a supply that is not enough, period, for the problems that they are attacking. We've already talked about the markets. It's well over quadrillions of dollars. Let's just assume, be conservative, that they can even get 0.1% of this market. That's success in terms of return on investment. Now, it's my belief that it'll be much, much higher than that, but time will tell. Right here, the global real-time gross settlement will remove friction. Keyword, remember we just heard them say this in that hearing today with Jay Clayton, chairman of the SEC. I believe that's his position. All right, costs and risks from cross-currency transactions. It will create trust. Along with the friction, it'll be faster, cheaper, you get it. DLT, distributed ledger technology, and in particular, the XRP ledger, which is the most superior blockchain ledger to date, will enable banks to settle cross-currency transactions in real time, something impossible today. And again, it is possible now, thanks to XRapid and other applications like Corda being able to run and settle XRP with smart contracts as well. The XRP ledger can be accessed by all banks and liquidity providers. You can access if they're hoarding their own XRP, or perhaps they can actually pull XRP from a common cloud when they actually need to source on-demand liquidity, enabling healthy competition between banks and a better service for customers. This is a win-win, hence level playing field. Help those tier 3 banks kind of, even out and have a fair advantage as well. Correspondent banking, or banks and liquidity providers, LPs, will be able to reach more currency corridors, which is good for them, and new customers, perhaps even the unbanked eventually, improving their service offering for other banks and their clients. The ILP will enable financial institutions and central banks to make their existing infrastructure and processes interoperable with other currencies, asset classes, and the XRP ledger, the global liquidity marketplace, and the global decentralized real-time gross settlement system. All right, next up, Bank of America, clip by I Am Legion. Now, this is in regards to the actual Sibos event, which is Swift's annual conference going right now in London. And this is actually Mr. Dave Kretz, and he's head of global strategy and payments, global transaction services. And he's basically talking about what he sees the future of payments and transactions. And he believes, of course, it'll incorporate trade flows, RTP, or real-time payments, blockchain, and he says cryptocurrency. Now, remember, real-time payments, it starts with consumers and business transactions, and they're regarding payments with immediate payroll, immediate payments, etc. Anything revolving around real-time payments, essentially, whether that's, consumer front-facing or B2B. All right, now there's another one. Again, now this is April 2018. This is Bank of America again discussing. And so as we can see here, and he's just kind of speculating here, I Am Legion, Bank of America, Internet of Value, Correspondent Banking, etc. And essentially this gentleman here goes on to say, the future of transaction banking will change in the next 5 years more than it has in the past 30 years. He believes the internet, of course, had a significant impact on how we interacted, but did not have any fundamental changes on the banking system yet. Now, we've essentially had the same correspondent banking infrastructures I've shown, at least the past 25 to 30 years with very little change in the scheme of things. And there will be basically an efficiency game of who can do it best, who can do it better, and the competition will be good to basically incentivize innovation in the future. Lastly, I Am Legion, sent this to me, Task Group. So this is, I'm going to say TAS. Some people say TAS Group. I can't believe I'm not following them. Wow, and I call myself an XRP researcher. All right, so basically they added a new bank. Now stay with me here. So London, basically 25th of September 2019, TAS, I'm going to say TAS, has announced that its agreement with Anglo Gulf Trade Bank, so another partner, and as you can see, its ability to collaborate with key international banking players. And regarding cloud, I know they say blockchain. There's a few other implementations they do as well. And just kind of think of like Accenture helping with digital transformation as well. But really, they are, helping payment networks connect. All right, so they're network connectors. And what I want to go over now, let me see, is a document with Ripple. We've already talked about this with Tips, with Temenos, with Target 2 payments. Now look at this. This is a document made by TAS Network Gateway. All right, so at the heart of the European Target 2 and T2S real-time gross settlement systems from the very start. Now, this is an older document, but look, they do Task Group right next to Ripple, and they go back and forth. So Ripple, the open protocol for global interbank transactions, and Task Group supporting all networks, all protocols, all transactions, managing multiple communication standards, leading payments and financial markets innovation worldwide. Real-time cross-border funds settlement for financial service businesses. Notice the only way to do settlement is not X-Current, it is X-Rapid, and this involves XRP. So what are the problems with today's settlement system? You guys get it. 2+ days at minimum to settle. There's high transaction fees, costly reserve requirements, of course, with liquidity. There's multiple failure points, of course. So it's not even one single central point of failure. There's actually multiple central points of failure, which is something I need to emphasize more. Reporting, there's lack of visibility, transparency, especially for other parties involved, since it's so clunky at best and has to go through. I heard someone from Swift say it has to go through like 10 different, like not networks per se, but confirmations. And again, this requires human intervention as well, and that's always subject to error. All right, the FX, one foreign exchange provider. All right, the industry trend kind of goes over what's been happening, and now Ripple. How does Ripple address these wholesale costs? Ripple provides a global neutral settlement system for bilateral settlement and exchange. Speed, 3 to 5 seconds to settle. Fees, free to use, besides what Ripple would charge their clients to use, of course, which we don't know. But again, it's still going to offer savings, so let's be real. Liquidity, reserves not required, so it gets rid of that need for pre-funded accounts in the first place. No capital costs, no inflation. None of that risk of losing that money. Risk 100% straight through processing. Reporting, there's full visibility and easier compliance. So it's a lot easier to track as well, obviously, with DLT. And then foreign exchange, competitive marketplace. So we want to incentivize liquidity, basically incentivize more and more market makers, liquidity providers, essentially, which could be institutions, individual traders, large groups, to basically create this ecosystem where XRP can be the true medium of exchange. Now, it takes time, but really, once the dominoes begin to fall, it becomes more and more probable and more likely. And in my opinion, not financial advice, the longer that XRP is in this downtrend or even trending sideways for the next few years, which I doubt that will be the case because this has been one of the longer bear markets, the more likely, it's just the coil is tightening, it's like a slingshot, the harder and faster it'll go higher, in my opinion. Now, what types of businesses are using Ripple? Licensed financial service businesses and liquidity providers integrate with Ripple. Financial service businesses, institutions, remittance companies, money service businesses, MSBs, and prepaid service providers, along with liquidity providers, such as hedge funds, currency traders, and market makers. So I just wanted to show that, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is way too good to be true? Why are they specifically talking about settlement? And remember, highly recommend to kind of look at this picture, cross-border real-time gross settlement for the next few years. Pretty funny how it ends at 2025 regarding the ISO 222 messaging migration. So again, this is made by a very reputable group, the 5th largest IT group in the world. So if you think that I'm just some hype man, I am literally sourcing everything, and I'm basically reviewing documents that are made for the big boys up top to review. So again, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.